All right, so finally, after a year or actually more than a year of being, absent from all this, I've got another decode ready to present for you guys. And, I'm not gonna like probably, do this a lot, but, I think it was like last week or something. I was somehow looking into Michelangelo's most famous work, David, and like I just noticed these connections, starting off with the fact that the David statue is exactly 17 feet tall. Um, and see, like I'm a numbers guy and I've studied all this, so like I just see shit like throughout history and events and stuff, and I like understand why, you know what I mean? Like, because it's deliberately so that Michelangelo's statue David is exactly 17 feet. And I would be willing to bet that Michelangelo knew exactly what he was doing, even though obviously I can't prove that. But yeah, I mean, those Renaissance artists, man, they were polymaths. They studied everything. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that there was significance, like he knew the significance behind making the statue David exactly 17 feet tall. And I'll show how that's significant here because Michelangelo died. So yeah, he died 17 days before what would have been his next birthday. And his name, Michelangelo, equals 59. And that's important because 59 is the 17th prime number. Like I said, this creation of the biblical David, this statue was his most famous creation. The sculpture is exactly 17 feet tall, and the statue was unveiled to the city of Florence on a date with numerology of 17, as it was unveiled on September 8th in 1504. So September 8th, written 9/8, 9 plus 8 equals 17, right? So that's how I'm getting, the date numerology. But so the biblical David was, of course, King David, the forefather of the King of Kings, referring to Jesus, of course, and the phrase King of Kings equals 59, again, the 17th prime number. And King David's most famous son was King Solomon, whose name equals 153, and 153 is the 17th triangular number. But going back to Michelangelo, he was born on the 49th day of the year, and 49 is significant because it's 7 squared, and 7 is the prime number of 17. You know, all these prime number relationships, triangular number relationships, and just this string, all this, you just see how all the dots connect when you learn all this. So the number 7 that we just briefly touched on represents spiritual perfection, divine completion, and or God's great works. And I'm arguing here that it represents kingship as well. You know, how we're talking about King David, and I think that's pretty obvious maybe already to you so far, but I got more little connections to make here. The number 7 is really the main number I'm getting at here through the numbers 59 and 17. See, all this, it connects. Moving on, it's no surprise that the word El, Hebrew word for God, equals 17. God, the word itself, equals 17. And if you want to know how you know, how I know these words or phrases equal these certain values, it's using the four base ciphers of gematria. You can go to the, what is it, gematrianator.com, and the four base ciphers pop up, and you just type in these words, and you can see how I'm getting those values. So they equal these numbers in one of the four base ciphers. But anyways, the word Lord also equals 59. And again, that's the 17th prime number. And also, just don't forget that 17 is the 7th prime number. So yeah, El, Hebrew word for God, 17. God itself equals 17. Lord equals 59. and then it connects through the string of prime numbers to 17 and 7. So also notice, L. So you got L here in Michelangelo, and then also here in his name. But L is at the end of every name of every angel. And you know, various prophets and big figures throughout history, such as Samuel here, who we'll talk about. But let's see. So going back to King David, who is credited with writing many of the Psalms and portions of the book of Samuel, note that Psalms and Samuel both equal 17. So, I mean, what's kind of like the chances of that? That's pretty funny, isn't it? Like, King David is credited with writing many of the Psalms and portions of the books of Samuel, and both both those names, Psalms and Samuel, equal 17. You got to really think about this in relation to all that I'm saying. Of course, too, you know, Samuel was the name of the prophet that anointed a young King David. But speaking of, books in the Bible, the phrases Holy Bible and just the Bible both equal 153, and 153 is again the 17th triangular number. But yeah, for more significance related to this topic and these numbers, specifically the number 7, according to the Bible, it took God 7 days to create the universe. Technically six, and the seventh was rest day, but I mean, you guys know what I mean. And then, of course, there are, 7 days in a week. Again, going back to that, thing about seven being the number of divine completion, spiritual perfection, and whatnot. But there were 7 kings of Revelation described in the 17th chapter of the book. There are also 7 churches of Revelation, but Revelation is a word equating to 49 and 59. 49, as we talked about, is 7 squared, and 59, as we've also talked about, is the 17th prime number. And again, just for another reminder, 17, the 7th prime number. Yeah, I mean, think about that too. So the Bible's encoded as well. It's a freaking masterpiece, really. It's not only mathematically, but allegorically speaking too, right? All this it's just so much deeper than, we've been led or taught to believe and see. And how that's exactly what, I'm proving here. But there are also 7 main chakras in the human body, and the 7th is the crown chakra. And that's why, I'm saying it's fair to say that the number 7 represents kingship, a true king, like David was. Yeah, so let me know if y'all have any questions about this, like if any of this is confusing in the comments or whatever. I know some people get stumped on this. Um, I try to explain it the best of my ability. It is kind of, hard sometimes because it can be a lot of connections. Um, I've definitely made a more in-depth, complex decodes, but yeah, I'd love to answer any questions anybody has because I just know how people are. Like new people that hear this information, they don't it's hard for them to wrap their minds around, and I get it. But at the same time, I don't think it's it's not impossible. It's like not that it's not that hard. But yeah, ask any questions in the comments if you want. I think that's it for me though. Share this too, share the work. Because more people need to know about this stuff because there's always just layers to history, numbers, events, and just how it all just, you know, connects together. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.